This is Engineer Abdeen, and we are back to you again with another tutorial on relays and sequencing. So in the previous tutorial, Engineer Mubarak took you through building the logic in sequencing, trying to train you into how to build a rational sequence. Today, we will look into a systematic way into how to approach the problem. So some of you might still ask certain questions. For example, do we need a relay for each solenoid? Sometimes some of you might still be confused into what relays should be connected to what solenoids. So today we give you a systematic way into how to approach the problem. So this is, call it as an alternative way, a more systematic way, in which without getting into logic, without understanding or being able to identify any logic, you will be able to build half the circuit. So without any logic, you will be able to build half the logic. So this is the good thing about this method. On the other hand, some of you might be able or want to solve complex sequences that are sequences that consist of, for example, 4 or 5 cylinders. So if we have, for example, a relay for each solenoids, we will have a significant number of relays and the circuit will be complicated. So today, this systematic way will help even those people, those who want to solve complex problems. So without any further ado, let's get started. Whenever you have a sequence, regardless of what sequence do you have, you want to ask yourself 3 questions, all right? So you'll be asking yourself 3 simple questions, which are the questions you can see here. The first question is, how many solenoids do I have? Or how many solenoids do I need to use in my circuit in FluidSIM? And the answer is simple. So the number of solenoids basically represent the number of sequences you have. It's logic. Whenever I have 4 sequences, A plus, B plus, A minus, B minus, I'll need 4 solenoids. Whenever I have 3 cylinders and 6 sequences, I'll need 6 solenoids, and so on. So regardless of the sequence you have, whether it's this sequence, or this sequence, it all depends on the number of sequence itself rather than the type of the sequence you have. 2 cylinders, 4 solenoids, 3 cylinders, usually 6 solenoids. Of course, if you are not using a spring return valve. So this is straightforward and simple to answer. We move to the next question, which is the important question. How many or what is the number of relays I need to have in my sequence? In other words, do I need a relay for each sequence? Do I need a relay for each solenoid? And the good answer, or the good news, is no. You don't need a relay for each sequence and you don't need a relay for each solenoid. You can have less number of relays compared to the number of sequences you have. What do I mean by that, and how can I know the number of relays I have? The answer is, it's straightforward and it's quite simple. So how to answer it is by looking into the sequence itself. The answer lies in the type of the sequence. It doesn't depend on the number of cylinders you have. It doesn't depend on the number of solenoids you have. It depends only on the type of the sequence. So you need to look into the sequence. And then how do I understand from the sequence how many relays I have? It's simple and straightforward. Whenever you have whenever you have 2 sequences that follow each other for the same cylinder, then you need to add a relay. What do I mean by that? For example, here, this we have extension of A, which is A plus, and we have a retraction of A, which is A minus. If A plus and A minus comes following each other, we cannot have one relay activating both of them. So we will need to have 2 relays. So for example, here, we will need firstly an initial relay, 1 relay here. We move to the next one. The next one is B, cylinder B. The previous one was cylinder A. So these 2 are different, are sequences for different cylinders. So I don't need to add a relay. 0 here. I don't need to add a relay. Now jumping to the next one, which is A. We look again back to, we compare A to the previous one. The previous one was B, so they are different. So we need 0 added relays. So then we jump to the next one, which is B. We look back again, compare B to A. They are not the same, so we add 0 relay. This means that this sequence, although we have 2 cylinders, although we previously thought that we need a relay for each sequence, this will result in 4 relays. No, actually this sequence can be operated by only one relay. Only one relay would be enough. Alright, moving to the next sequence, moving to this sequence. Again, we do the exact same thing. The first sequence always needs a relay, so one relay. Then we jump again, B compared to A, they are not the same, so 0. Oh, forgive me for the handwriting. Then we jump again, we see B, the previous one was B, so no, we need to add another relay. So we added a relay. Then we jump A. Is it the same as B? No, so we don't need to add a relay. So how many relays in total we have? We have one here, one here. So for this sequence, we have 2 relays. This sequence can be operated using 2 relays. We go back again to another sequence. This sequence, A plus, A minus, B plus, B minus. We said that the first sequence needs a relay. So one relay here added to this sequence. Then we jump. It's A. We look into the previous one. The previous one is also A, so we need to add a relay. Then we jump. The next one is B. B and A, they are not the same, so we don't need to add a relay. Then we jump again. It's B. The previous one was B, so we need to add a relay. So this sequence needs 3 relays. So although we thought that all the sequences that have 2 cylinders will result in 4 relays, no. We actually found one sequence that needs 3 relays. We found a sequence that needs only 2 relays, and we found a sequence that only needs 1. This will simplify our circuits very much, so much to the point where if we have, for example, 4 or 5 cylinders, we could have, for example, only 4 or 3 relays rather than having a very significant number of relays. So now you know how to answer the question of how many relays do I need. All right? Moving to the third another important question, which is which relay activates which solenoid? Let us start from here. Let's start from this sequence to know which relay activates which solenoid. All right, let's say we have the sequence of A plus, B plus, B minus, A minus. All right, we said that this sequence will result in a number of relays of 2. So we will have relay K1 and we will have relay K2. Now the question is, when we move to this side, which relay connected to which solenoid? Do I connect K1 to Y1 or K1 to Y2, and how to know that? The answer is simple, and again it's related to the same logic. A and B, they are different cylinders, so I jump here, I move, same thing, then I move again. Is it the same? No. Or sorry, again, repeating again. Moving through A, going to B. B is not the same, so I can still use the same relay. Then moving again, no. These two are B, so I need to stop here. So A and B, or A plus, B plus, will be connected by the same relay. Then again, we said the following one is B minus, so we cannot connect 2 sequences for the same cylinder using the same relay. We need different relay, which is K2. Then we jump again, we move, we find A minus, which is not the same, so yeah, I can connect these two with the same relay, which will be K2. So now I know that A plus, which is activated by Y1, is connected by K1, and I know that B plus, which is activated by Y3, which is here, is also activated by K1. And I also know that Y4, which corresponds to B minus, is activated by K2. And I know that also Y2, which is the retraction of cylinder A, is activated by K2. So now I built the number of solenoid, I built the relay switches, and I can also, for example, of course, add the relay themselves, this relay, to the other side. So I've built, like, let's say half of the circuit without knowing anything about logic, nothing about logic. It's just a systematic way. All right. In the next video, we will go through examples into how to apply this method, which will make it much more easier, and you will be able to comprehend it very well. All right. So to exercise that, Try to answer these 3 questions for this sequence. We will answer them in the next lab, which is on Wednesday. However, be prepared to answer it. What are the number of solenoids do I need? What is the number of relays I need? And which relay will activate which solenoid? Alright. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. And most importantly, of course, learned something valuable. And see you in the next tutorial.